USA leading Turkey 1-0 at half-time in this World Cup warm-up game from Harrison, New Jersey. I wonder what Jurgen Klinsmann, the US coach, has been making of it all. He's with Jeremy Schaap.
Jurgen, how would you assess your team's effort in the first half, both offensively and defensively?
Well, I think very well offensively. I think we created a lot of opportunities, you know, a couple of questionable calls. But defensively, we struggled here and there because they came with two attacking midfielders through the middle. And we only had actually Jermaine Jones against two guys. So we needed to adjust that now in the locker room. I think it will look much better than in the second half. It's a very good team, Turkey, you know, very good individual players. That's why we wanted badly this test here against a team that is almost kind of went almost to Brazil, just didn't make it. But they give us the benchmark that we need right now.
Good luck in the second half. Thank you, Jurgen.
Thank you.
Well, I think his view of it was largely the view that everybody else has had. Pretty good attacking-wise, one or two question marks defensively, and interestingly, the changes being made at the back. Kyle Beckerman to protect that defense from midfield, and John Brooks, the player from Hertha Berlin, to get a chance to state his case.
What's interesting, Ian, is Jurgen talking about two attacking midfielders, and you and I at halftime were discussing, well, if that first half is Germany or Ghana or Portugal, they're putting one or two of those opportunities in the back. And the one thing that still concerns me for this United States team is just having one guy in front of those two center backs. I still think it'd be more beneficial that you have two guys in front, because we saw in the first half Jermaine Jones get caught out of position when he was trying to distribute, bad turnover, and then he's out of position. I'm just wondering if Jurgen and his staff will look at that first half again and maybe make that switch against Nigeria and get rid of, you know, ready for Ghana and Brazil.
I think Casey Keller said it. It's a question of balance, particularly against higher class opposition. So on comes 21-year-old John Brooks, brought up in Berlin. On his debut, he had to mark Edin Dzeko against Bosnia-Herzegovina. That was a game where Josie Altidore got a hat-trick, and the US staged an amazing recovery to win 4-3. So what a chance for him here.
Well, also to make up for that performance against Ukraine and Cyprus, where he looked very naive defensively, out of position more often than not.
Brad Guzan, first cap 8 years ago. It's taken him that long to get to 24, and maybe his time is coming. I'm sure he's going to have a long reign as the #1 once Tim Howard does decide to resign or retire from the position. No word on that yet. Kyle Beckerman in as the holding midfield player, has great tactical discipline in that role. The two stories about, you might have read them, about Kyle Beckerman's dream of scoring from 65 yards in a World Cup final. That's great fantasy stuff. So Turkey brought on Mustafa, by the way, forward to help out Mevlut Erdinç. Attacking mentality has always been pretty much the same. He's the number 17 there, chasing the ball with Cameron. So he's furthest forward. They've moved Mevlut Erdinç out to the right-hand side, by the look of it, in the tactical tweaking that's gone on. There'll be more of that, of course, with 6 substitutes allowed. The USA have already made 3 of them. Davis bringing it down. Does well to dig out across. Susitu trying to lay it back. He's pressured out of it by Shania Hakim. Only the 4th time these two countries have met. The first time in 1991 in Istanbul, when Frank Klopas scored for the USA in a 1-1 draw. Then a 2-1 defeat in Saint-Étienne, France in 2003. And DeMarcus Beasley scored in that 11 years ago. He's still around. The 2-1 win in the World Cup warm-up that I mentioned earlier 4 years ago, with Dempsey and Altidore on target in a 2-1 win. Great ball to find Gürkan from Özyakup. Mevlut Erdinç will not be able to catch that one. He was sold by Carlo Ancelotti in his time at Paris Saint-Germain, Navut. No doubt about it, Turkey will want to complete their little tour that they've been doing in Europe and now North America with another win. 2 wins out of 2 so far. They've won 9 out of 10 currently. We wish them they had Fatih Terim in charge a little bit earlier in their World Cup qualifying campaign. With him they might have made it, I think. And who's come on is Ahmet İlhan, wearing number 26. Keane tries to bulldoze away through. And Ozyakup is he going to get a yellow card here from the referee, Slim Jadidi? No. They're going to keep the cards in the pocket. That's generally what happens in friendly matches like this. Shaheen looks quite interested in this, as does Shania Al-Hakim, who's got a good left foot.
Take a line, Pete, stay ready.
Nabi Shaheen to take it. And he missed his chance there. Did Balta. We had a real chance of a header on goal, and it was an air shot in the end. I think one thing Jurgen Klinsmann will want to see in this half is the USA looking tighter and harder to create things against.
Especially in the middle. You know, we heard it at halftime with Jeremy Schaap. Just everything was too easy for Turkey coming through the middle in front of those 2 center backs. Clean it up a little bit, and hopefully Kyle Beckerman can do that.
Free kicks given. Cameron saying, I wonder why. That's the second one already conceded in the opening moments of the second half. A set piece around the edge of the box. Here is Shaheen wearing his 46th cap, looking interested in this one. He's only scored twice in all those international appearances. Brad Guzan getting his wall organised. Only 2 players in it. Shaheen, he was a bit far out to shoot from.
Well, that's an absolute gift. I mean, you're 30 yards from goal. Mind-boggling. That's an absolute gift to the United States there.
Yeah, they messed that up, Turkey. Came closest hitting the post, Nuri Shaheen, earlier on. Davis looking to challenge Selçuk İnan. Another experienced player, his 35th cap, the Galatasaray man. Brooks couldn't cut it out, and there's a problem here. İlhan goes to try to beat Guzan on the near post. He was never going to do that. He did score against Ireland last week, Ahmet İlhan.
My biggest criticism of John Brooks is in defensive moments being strong, being critical. We saw it against Ukraine, not being decisive enough, and there's another wonderful opportunity there to just be a simple center back and make sure that ball doesn't get in behind him.
Well, last time we saw John Brooks, he had that poor game against Ukraine. You wonder if he'd burnt his chances there, but he's still in the mix, isn't he? Bradley to Davis, and Chandler. Deflected on the way through, could have gone in and has gone in! 2-0, Clint Dempsey. A gift, really, from the Turkish defence. He doesn't care, and the US are 2 up. It was a comedy of errors in many ways, and Clint Dempsey just picked up the pieces. like a good goal scorer.
It really was, Ian. And the United States were very deliberate coming forward. Yes, Michael Bradley taking the space in front of him, but once you saw Brad Davis pick up his head, slow down, and whip this ball in, you felt like Turkey had this covered completely. But that is what Clint Dempsey's done. And everyone at home saying, oh, that's an easy goal. You still have to be there. You still have to be on your toes. Clint Dempsey did well.
It's a bad mistake from Hakan Balta with his miscue that caused all the problems. And the US with a 2-goal lead to defend here. That defence, and particularly Brad Guzan, will want the clean sheet. Just remember, Guzan was in goal, wasn't he, for the Snow Classico in Denver. And the 0-0 at the Azteca. Brad Davis, Turkey went to sleep there. Zusi's arriving on the back post. This could be 3, but it isn't. Well, the Turkey players are surrounding and crowding around this referee.
Rightfully so. Brad Davis, this ball is going out of bounds, and he uses his hand to keep it in. It's right in front of us. Listen, ball's out of bounds.
Goodness me.
Listen, we can laugh and all that, but here's the thing, though, Ian. You can't, these are little things that the United States can't do going into a World Cup. Right in front of Jurgen Klinsmann.
Well, that would be a yellow card, of course, at the World Cup. Deliberate handball in that way.
But that's a yellow card you can control. Am I being too harsh on this or no?
No, probably not. But you do wonder, don't you, how the officials missed that. Turkey's defence were absolutely mystified as to how the play was allowed to go on. I think Brad Davis was as well. Altidore is offside.
And saying all that, how does the linesman miss it?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
You do wonder, don't you, sometimes. Chenier plays it inside Aizyaku. He's just got themselves in a bit of a mess. They nearly let Gurkan in. He's taken a knock in the middle of all that, trying to hit that.
The second half has started at a different tempo, a different pace than that first half. And a lot of that is, it just naturally happens. You go in, you take a deep breath, and then you make 3 substitutions for the United States. Turkey makes 2, changes the complexion of this game.
They can be disruptive, can't they, all the substitutions? It's hard to keep the narrative of the game going. Davis has got a bit of a knock in all of that as well. He's all right. But Gurkan isn't. USA playing Nigeria in the final warm-up game in Jacksonville. Next weekend coverage beginning 5:30 Eastern on ESPN, available on the Watch ESPN app as well. And don't forget that, well, they call it the group of death. It's the old cliche, there's always one at every World Cup. It looks a bit like it.
Yeah, I think your country, England's in a very difficult group, and Spain and Netherlands as well.
Germany, by the way, playing today against Cameroon. Interesting to see how that goes. Things just become a little fragmented now that Ahmed Ilhan is down as well. Incidentally, that game between Germany and Cameroon, I'm getting a later score, and that it's still 0-0. Kicking off the second half, Cameroon, of course, going to the World Cup themselves. And will look to do better than last time when they were the first team to be eliminated. It's one of the many, many subplots. How will the African teams do this year? One of them, of course, Ghana in the USA's group. Now then, Zusi. Now chased back. He's obviously all right again. Ahmed Ilhan. Chased back to help out. Here he is again now. Chandler, a regular in Nuremberg side in the Bundesliga. We've got a near all Bundesliga defence there now, haven't we? Chandler, left back, Brooks of Hertha Berlin, obviously not Cameron, and then Fabian Johnson on the far side, who's about to join Borussia Mönchengladbach from Hoffenheim.
Well, it looks like Chandler will be moving to his hometown club, Eintracht Frankfurt, as well.
Cameron, very much staying at Stoke City, it would seem. Good piece of play by Fabian Johnson. And that's such a good cross. Well, they've had to ride their luck a little bit here so far, the USA, but a win is a win, and a win builds morale.
I think more importantly, it's the clean sheet. Ian. I think it's extremely important they get out of this game with a clean sheet, and more importantly, no injuries here. This game's picked up a little chippy. Stay focused, stay in there, continually playing two-touch and not get caught into any silly games off the ball.
I always think this little period ahead of the World Cup, it's a little bit like a phony war that's going on. Everybody vying for positions. You maybe don't want to let too much be revealed to your potential opponents. At the same time, you need to get the players plenty sharp enough for the job that's coming up and get the pattern of play established. Difficult balance to strike for the coaches. USA leading with a fabulous goal by Fabian Johnson, and one of a more freaky variety from Clint Dempsey. He's 37th for his country. He's still 19 behind Landon Donovan, left out of this squad.
To think that we see Julian Green today now with the United States up 2-0.
Yep, Nuri Sahin would be a good opportunity to let him have a run out. Meanwhile, Mevlut Erdinç, nobody attacking the near post. Altidor's all on his own. Dempsey's arriving by way of a cavalry, and Altidor making a nuisance of himself. The decision goes against Altidor. Does kick the ball away, and normally he might be in a bit of trouble for that, but I don't think today. Altidor went to the last World Cup, played 4 times, got subbed in 2 of them, didn't manage a goal, but you wouldn't say he messed up his chance. I don't think he did. Look at this, Gürkan, one ball beats all from that defence. Can Gürkan finish it off? No, Brad Guzan is there. But where was the left side of the US defense here?
Well, Timmy Chandler is tucked way too far inside here off the left shoulder of John Brooks. And yes, we talked about at the beginning of the game the communication between Brooks and Chandler. But if Chandler's going to tuck that far inside, Brad Davis has to pull back. That starts from communication from Timmy Chandler.
Chandler's got an injury, looks like a foot injury. And he'll want a little bit of treatment. The game has been interrupted a lot by various injuries in this second half. Not a bad backup keeper to have, is he, Brad Guzan? Few countries at the World Cup would love to have that kind of cover.
I was just going to ask you, Ian, how many countries right now would take Brad Guzan as their starter?
Absolutely. Selçuk now to play it inside. It's a lovely return ball. Can he finish it off? No. Good defending that time. Brad Davis getting back to help his defence. A coach will like that. But Turkey continuing to create things here. US looking to build another attack with Graham Zusi of Sporting Kansas City. Good challenge from Nuri Sahin. Erkin's ball nearly got Mevlut Erdinç behind. News coming through, by the way, that New Jersey native Giuseppe Rossi, who is hoping to be in Italy's squad, hasn't made the 23. Of course, he's had more injury problems in recent months. That'll be a huge disappointment. 23 just announced he's not in it. Chandler forward, offside. Dempsey flag went up once he got possession. Must have been tight at the moment the ball was played.
Good play from Timmy Chandler, though, being in the right spot at the right time and then getting the United States in transition. In a good spot here. That ball has to be played earlier, but he looks onside.
No, I said it was tight. I thought it was. I think Dempsey, he doesn't complain, mind you. Strikers usually do. They always know he's part of the strikers club, of course. The old habits, you know as well. So they always know when they're on or offside.
Well, we're always onside and we're always open.
I think most strikers think they were born onside. Couple more changes here. And we're going to see DeAndre Yedlin, who's the second youngest in the squad behind Julian Green. And I think we might be saying, are we going to see Julian Green himself? Well, this would be quite a big moment. Brad Davis to come off, and on comes Julian Green for only his second cap. This is the player who's played more minutes now for the US than he has for his club Bayern Munich as a senior player. Anyway, he's yet to play in the Bundesliga, but Jurgen Klinsmann thinks he's a big talent. He's persuaded him to commit to the US. Julian Green's substitution, fueled by Gatorade. Fabian Johnson's coming off, and on comes DeAndre Yedlin. That'll be a like-for-like switch. He would have been a surprise pick. He's only been a professional player for 17 months, having come out of the University of Akron, Ohio. Seattle Sounders right back, involved straight away. Here he is, DeAndre Yedlin, just 20 years of age, and that's not the best way to start the game. Bound to be a bit of nerves for him.
Well, for both players, too, because you talk about Julian Green's debut against Mexico. It wasn't great. He injured himself, and it ultimately cost him potentially some viable minutes with the first team at Bayern Munich as they had Bundesliga wrapped up in March. So these are critical moments for Yedlin and Green to get some touches and get some confidence.
They're all out there. Brooks, Green, Yedlin, three players who've never started a competitive international for the USA, but are in Jurgen Klinsmann's 23 for the World Cup. Green will be 19 6 days before the tournament opens. If he plays at the World Cup, he'll be the USA's youngest ever player to actually get onto the field. In the World Cup, I mean. Turkey claw their way back into this. They will be feeling they should have scored already in this game. They haven't managed to do it. Big chances wasted. Guzan with a couple of smart saves already. This is Nuri Sahin. Altidore worked very hard today for the team. Dempsey, Zusi, lovely ball, and Green with an opportunity. He was unable to take it. What an introduction that would have been for Julian Green.
How good of a ball was that from Graham Zusi, by the way?
Yeah. Player who leads Major League Soccer on chances created over the last 3 years, Graham Zusi. You can see why with that ball.
This is just such a good ball to hit this first time in behind. And it's a difficult ball for Julian Green to bring down, but the first touch lets him down. Julian Green's done well to get in that position. That first touch has to be Klinger.
Yacoub has come off the pitch, and Olcan Adun is on, the midfield player from Trabzonspor, wearing his 7th cap here today, the number 20 midfield player. It's all changed in the second half of these friendly matches. ball down the side. Watching headed. Thinks he deserves a free kick for that, and he's got one as well. Yedlin, the player penalised. Remember, the USA led Mexico 2-0 in the friendly the other month, and Mexico pulled it back to 2-2. So there's work still to be done here to protect this lead. Turkey would definitely feel they're not out of this game, not the way it's panned out. Selçuk well watched by Guzan. That could have taken a wicked deflection off anybody. He kept his eye on the ball and punched it clear. King gets it forward. It's defended by Cameron. Timmy Chandler. Now then, here's Julian Green. Doesn't manage to find Clint Dempsey. Green did struggle a little bit to make any impression the first time we saw him in the US shirt against Mexico, and he picked up a shoulder injury as well in that game. It wasn't a great time to come in the game because Mexico was staging a big comeback at the time. Mix Diskerud, the creative midfield player who was born and raised in Norway, but his mum is from Alabama, and he's very much a USA player. Lots of talent, but he's got to prove it on the biggest stage of all pretty soon.
But he has proven it coming off the bench, and we've seen it against Russia, against Mexico, and then the other night against Azerbaijan. When he comes off the bench, he provides that little spark that Jurgen Klinsmann needs.
Did score against Azerbaijan in the 2-0 win. Coming on for his 19th cap, Diskerud. He also got, as you were mentioning, Taylor, he got a last-minute equaliser against Russia away from home. 2-2 draw. Nuri Shaheen's coming off and introduced in his place is Hakan Çalhanoğlu. Pretty well-regarded player from Hamburg who had a real struggle to stay up in the Bundesliga this past season.
But he's on the radar for some big clubs.
Yeah, Germany wanted him, I think. They wanted him to stay as part of their setup, but he's with Turkey. Selçuk Inan. Erkin. Aydın on this side. Yedlin rather lost his man, and Jeff Cameron just about getting it away, having to get used to playing with another defence. Now Altidore, no flag, no whistle. Altidore doesn't manage to finish it, denied by another player. He's going to last. Now how belated a whistle was that from the referee? There was no flag at all from the referee's assistant on the far side, and then the referee, Mr. Jadidi from Tunisia, does belatedly give the decision. I can see why this fella was involved in all that controversy in the African Cup of Nations.
But the bigger storyline is whether there's a whistle or not, is Jozy Altidore still didn't finish the playoff even.
He didn't, that's true. If there was a whistle, nobody heard it. Gürkan. Hammered across goal, and wide of the post by Mustafa. That's another chance. How many have Turkey missed here? And that's the big problem, really, with the US performance.
Well, from Mix Diskerud in behind. Well, there's the whistle. He just doesn't look like he was in any hurry to make sure that these players knew about the whistle. But when you're in a goal-scoring drought, and every single forward that's ever played at the highest level has been in those, it's those moments you still want to see the ball hit the back of the net.
Well, that's the lack of confidence thing at the moment, isn't it? I think strikers in form just finish those without thinking, almost.
Whistle or not.
Yeah. Gürkan, who's been great on the right-hand side for Turkey. Controlling the game a little bit at the moment, Turkey. US just looking to play on the counter, which is what they might have to do when it comes to the World Cup in Brazil. Gürkan. Brooks is there to cut it out. Here's Green.
That's a bad giveaway there. Julian Green has come into this game, and nerves have been 100% a part of it, rightfully so. But when you come into a game at this level, you have to be clean and make the right decisions, particularly coming off the bench.
Here's Dempsey. Çalhanoğlu won it back for Turkey. 2 lines of 4 set up by the US. Diskerud being used wideish on the right-hand side. Çalhanoğlu. Corner kick. Just holding on a little bit at the moment, US. Here he is again. Great looking ball in, well defended that by Brooks. Right place, right time to cut it out. Ahmet İlhan stood up to the back post. He couldn't get it away, right across the face of goal. And the US managed to get something in the way.
I still think this is a viable training exercise for the United States for young players, Yedlin, Green, Brooks.
Defending very, very deep here. Çalhanoğlu won it back again.
How do you know until you've done it? Even though this is a friendly, these are learning experiences for these 3 young players, and even Jeff Cameron next to there to lead these guys and try to get out of this game with a clean sheet here.
Just over a quarter of an hour remaining. USA leading by 2-0, but is it a performance you could call convincing?
No, I still think that first half is a real good benchmark for this 23-man roster so far in this training camp, because I think whether it was the back 4 assessing it, whether it was the midfield and Jermaine Jones figuring out positions that way, I really believe that the staff of Jurgen Klinsmann and himself will look at that first half and make some changes, because if that's Germany in the first half, I'm not sure it's 1-0 going into halftime in the United States.
Well, they would be a lot more ruthless, you would think, in front of goal. The type of players are around Marco Reus, Thomas Muller, Mesut Özil and company. İlhan. Good defending by Brooks. Learning all the time. He's had a bit of a baptism of fire in a US shirt. But, just recently, he's been winning some accolades for his performances in the Bundesliga.
Well, other than the first moment of his second half coming in, letting everyone getting behind him, he's been pretty clean defensively.
Gürkan lays it forward to Mevlut. Before there that Çalhanoğlu was making a supporting run, which he wasn't. Here's Diskerud and Dempsey on the score sheet against Turkey as he was 4 years ago. Bradley, who beautifully set up the first goal. What's that, Beckerman crossing the halfway line? Here he is again. Bradley, just behind Tim Dempsey. He's playing on the counter a little. Olcan Adi. Oh, great ball across the face of goals. Coming towards Mustafa. But Brooks has had a good 5-10 minutes here.
Yeah, Brooks has come to play over the last 10 minutes, particularly in those moments of cleaning it up. But when the U.S. had possession there, DeAndre Yedlin can't get caught that far forward.
There's some more players really who are still learning their trade. Looking suspensions. Everybody in that 23 has to be ready to contribute. Reminded us at half-time, Turkey are a decent sort of side. This group helping out. Here's Bradley, looking to be the creative spark. Finds a good ball to Dempsey off the outside of his boot.
Moni, in the first half today is worth 1,000 times more than anything that happened in Azerbaijan game.
Who just sat back, really, and it was so windy, wasn't it, with the conditions in that game.
But it was windy and 11 players behind the ball from the opening whistle. They're not going to face any of that in Brazil. Well, this has been a much better test.
They're facing a team here who are trying to attack them. It is a clean sheet so far, but you would have to say Turkey should have scored somewhere. Now they're green. Just losing his balance at the key moment. Chandler would be a problem for the goalkeeper Onur. Janir Erkin. It's a poor ball cut out by Yedlin. That'll make him feel better.
Good spot from DeAndre Yedlin. That's better. 2 minutes ago he was pushed high. Then it puts the onus on Mix Discord to recover.
Bradley, great ball for Altidore, goalkeeper off his line, and can Altidore see something this time? Discaroo couldn't bring it down. Green goes down in front of the referee, who's not interested. He was only 2 yards away. I think he got that right. And the USA there wasted a very good opportunity. Need to be more clinical. Meanwhile, defending to do. Adid.
If this is a year ago, Josie Altidore's taking this one-on-one, no questions asked. He's not looking forward for Clint Dempsey or Mix Discaroo. He's going one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Is this the right decision? Potentially, but more importantly, in this game, you have to be ruthless. If you want to get out of that goal-scoring drought that Josie Altidore's in, there's another opportunity that he could have taken that on one-on-one and gotten a goal for himself.
Bilal, the central midfield player, has just come on for Turkey. He started certainly the game against Ireland. Turkey coming into this game, as we were saying, on a good run of form. Looking to build up some momentum ahead of the European Championship qualifying. Bradley, lovely ball. His Discaroo. Altidore, lovely run into the channel. Superb. Altidore, and it wouldn't happen for him again. Onur with the block. All the build-up play was superb, not the finish.
Right on cue, though. This is exactly what you want to do if you're Josie Altidore. Get that goal. You've put in a complete performance today. Good cut, unlucky, but that's much better.
Stuck on 21 international goals, tied for 6th all-time with Bruce Murray. He is still only 24 and with 68 caps already. That could have been a 3rd goal for the US.
But this is the type of forward we saw last year. Remember, a year ago he scored that great goal against Germany and then went on a goal-scoring spree for the United States. But that is a great turn. And the buddy of his, Aaron Johansson, every single forward that's ever played the game knows what Josie Altidore is going through right now.
Yeah, he wanted that to happen for him. Even though he's a rival, really, in a sense, for a spot up top, Aaron Johansson. Maybe Josie just, I'm being very critical, just needed to dink that, didn't he? Over the keeper a little more. Taylor, you're the expert finisher.
No, the reality is that when you've only scored 1 goal in 31 league games over the year, you haven't scored since December, you start thinking, right now, what's Josie Altidore doing? He's thinking. When you're scoring goals, it's instinctual. You don't think for a split second. You cut, you finish, the ball hits the back of the net, and you celebrate. But the longer this goes on, the more those thoughts creep into the back of your mind, and that split second you lose at the international level.
And it's not a flattering start, the one you're looking at there, no goal since December. But often with strikers, after a drought comes a flood. Brazil would be a very good time for a flood. Well, eventually we'll get this corner kick taken, not before the... must be the last of the Turkish substitutions. Uğur Demirok, defender, to come on. This corner's a poor one. The first defender, and that allows a quick counter-attack with Ahmet İlhan, who's got a bit of pace about him. Sharma gone over to the right-hand side for the time being. And Beckham's dropped into the left-back position just to cover that. There he is now, confronting Gürkan. One-hand ball there, not going to be given. Çalhanoğlu cuts it back again. That's well read by young Yedlin, who's just beginning to pick up the pace of things. And, well, Guzan had to watch that flying shot from Bilal Kisa.
I remember, Ian, you and I coming into the snow game against Costa Rica and Denver, questioning, can Brad Guzan step up in those moments? Tim Howard was injured. He squashed any questions of whether or not he steps up to the big games.
What if anything to do? Brooks, tall, athletic. Got it away. Keane's cross. Chandler doing enough. I don't think there's ever any question really about Brad Guzan. A couple of seasons ago voted Villa's Player of the Year, even when Benteke was scoring all the goals. That's how important he was there.
But I felt like those two World Cup qualifiers last year, Costa Rica in the snow in Denver, and then at Mexico in Azteca, I felt was very good for Brad Guzan, and also for Jurgen Klinsmann to know he can be counted on in big games.
I think it's the least of the USA's problems, isn't it, Taylor?
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody's agreed on that. Now, Timmy Chandler. It's a poor ball from him. Well, that should never have been given. I don't think it's a free kick. Çalhanoğlu, who was looking for that, got it. Contact was pretty minimal. Bilal. There first, read it well. Dempsey's lost possession though. Here's Selçuk İnan. Turkey, by the way, if you ever get the chance to see a match there, go and see it. It is a fierce crowd every day. Tremendous atmosphere, almost a frightening atmosphere. Pulling the play back, USA think that could have waited. That's, I think, what the point Carl Beckerman is making. Orçan Adin is the player down for Turkey. Oh, a head injury, I think, is why the referee has quickly stepped in. The referees are under instruction to do that anytime there's a problem with a head injury. Chandler. Too ambitious, really. Adin was able to cut it out. Turkey are going to get a free kick here. And Green's been given a run out here. Julian Green on the left-hand side. He has to make some kind of impression, doesn't he? Has to show he's ready for this kind of thing. He's been picked. We've seen a lot of him so far.
No, but we have seen Yedlin in some moments here over the last 5-6 minutes be very good defensively.
He was preferred to his more experienced Seattle teammate, Brad Evans, and for that matter too, for Michael Parkhurst, who can cover all the positions across the back, but Yedlin got the vote.
I remember last year calling the Under-20 World Cup, and it's no secret that DeAndre Yedlin is a very, very bright prospect for the United States.
Now here is Green.
But Ian, in saying that, and I said this in the Azerbaijan game, what a gift it would have been if Steve Cherundolo wasn't injured and DeAndre Yedlin could learn from Steve Cherundolo over the next 6 to 8 months, even including going to Brazil, about how to play defensively as a right fullback.
Steve Cherundolo is a big miss. He's had to retire with all those injury problems. Julian Green, the corner kick, which is too long. Just nothing really happening so far in what is a very embryonic international career, of course, a very embryonic career, full stop. The youngest player ever picked for the World Cup for the USA was Joe Martinell back in 1934. He was just 17. He didn't actually get onto the field, though. Will Green in Brazil. Keane's long ball, looking for Hadid. Good work from Yedlin. He's giving a pretty good account of himself after 1 or 2 early difficulties.
I agree. 100%. He's been in good spots defensively. One time caught up out of position, trying to overlap, but over the last 5-6 minutes, he's been good.
With the back heel, lovely little cameo that. And there still might be something. It's Mustafa. Mustafa wants it. Well, is that handball? Was that going in? It's a penalty kick. It looked like a handball to me. And the penalty has to be given. And I think in normal circumstances that would have to be a red card because it's a deliberate handball preventing a goal.
15 months ago, we saw Timmy Chandler start against Honduras and really have a nightmare of a game, particularly just staying alive, staying mentally focused for that. Bad giveaway from Timmy Chandler there.
Cameron it was who handled it. There is no punishment from the referee, and you can only think that's because it's a friendly match with the World Cup coming up, but the law's the law, really. Anyway, Selçuk Imam to try to prevent the US's clean sheet in what is the last minute of normal time. That's a great penalty. No stopping that, not even Brad Guzan, who once saved 4 in one night for Villa, including a shootout in a League Cup game. But Selçuk Inan making it 2-1 to Turkey.
It's a world-class penalty from Inan, but I talked about it. It's just a bad giveaway from Timmy Chandler. There's absolutely no pressure on him whatsoever here. He's got possession. Play it back to Brad Guzan. That's just too lackadaisical in the back. You can't do that at this level. And now you put Brad Guzan on his heels, Jeff Cameron in a precarious position. Just can't happen.
No question about the penalty. Turkey now could make this very, very difficult for the US late on. Would be a useful win to have on the record against the informed Turks. Selçuk Inan. They've got to be cool and disciplined here. The US is away by Brooks. To say he's done okay and showed signs of settling. Growing Bundesliga experience for him, and it's a good league, of course. Here's Altidore taking on Tufan. It was too strong for him. Ball's fallen to Bradley. Might get another chance here. Oh, Dempsey couldn't quite slip him in. What a pity that was. Would have been one-on-one with the keeper. As it is, Turkey stay in touch and still believe. Ball though from Gürkan there. This is where the US just need to keep the ball. Discaroux does that well, picks a good ball. Here's Julian Green. The idea wasn't a bad one, but Altidore was never going to quite latch onto it. That's why the Landon Donovan arguments will go on. him against Julian Green, who's just played a couple of minutes in Bayern Munich's first team in the Champions League game at the end against a guy who's been to 3 World Cups and is the US's record goal scorer, even if he may not have all the qualities that he had at the very peak of his career. That's the debate, isn't it?
Well, and rightfully so. You're talking about a player with the experience of Landon Donovan, but if you ask Jurgen Klinsmann, what does he say? Julian Green's a midfielder and Landon Donovan's a forward.
As we've said many times, I think over the last few days, coaches are paid to make big calls.
And it happens around the world. Nasri for France, Tevez for Argentina.
Yeah, Tevez's been out of contention a fair while with Argentina, but you're right, it's because he's fallen out with the coach, basically, and I think they've got enough attacking talent without him. He might have half a point there, by the way.
Blind squirrel, yeah.
Messi, Aguero, Higuain, Di Maria. Good luck defending against them. Last minute, or what should be the last minute of stoppage time. The USA clinging on a bit at 2-1. We'd have to say 2-0 would have been a bit flattering on what we've seen for the US. Adin. Selçuk Inan. Turkey want this equaliser. Gürkan, more defending to do for the US here. Laid back. Selçuk Inan. Brooks to the rescue. More defending still to do. Here comes the next attacking wave. The whistle imminent, you would feel. Maybe the last chance for Turkey. Chandler's head is not the most convincing. Selçuk Inan. Now Bilal. Cross. Cameron's header. Hacked away by Yedlin. And will that be that? That is it. 2 warm-up games, 2 wins for the USA. Jurgen Klinsmann still with a lot of thinking to do about who fits where, what the starting lineup ought to be when the World Cup comes around. We'll be analysing this performance, but the facts of the matter are that a wonderful goal from Fabian Johnson, another one from Clint Dempsey making it 2-0, and then a penalty kick for Selçuk Inan making it 2-1. Turkey really should have scored 2 or 3 more, but so might the USA have done. Lots to rake over. Let's go to Bob Lee.
Thank you, Ian. It was 4 years ago in the send-off series for the U.S. USA played Turkey. That was a 2-1 final. This is a 2-1 final. Alexi and Casey, the lesson learned today is what?
Let's see. The good, they got the win, no injuries, and lots of chances that they created. The bad, they let in a lot of chances. Michael Bradley and Jermaine Jones in that diamond, how that functions going forward, and then Josie Altidore not getting that goal. All stuff that you can figure out, but has to be addressed.
And the clock is ticking a week from departure.
Yeah, and I think Klinsmann got an idea of some of the players that he's looking at. He's looking at Timmy Chandler in that left back role. You know, that it was okay at times, but you could still see some disconnect with this back four. With the mistake at the end, obviously, is a worrying point. You're looking at the young players that came in. Julian Green looked like a kid out on the field. Yedlin, some positioning issues. So I think it's a case of Jurgen Klinsmann learning from this game on how he can rely on some of this squad going forward.
But that goal was a thing of beauty.
Absolutely. It's a moment that we will look at and talk about in terms of what Michael Bradley means. But once again, in the context of where he's playing, I go back to it. Without a doubt, you have that moment. But what are you willing to give up for that one moment. And what if that one moment isn't there? You heard Jurgen Klinsmann talk at halftime saying the adjustments that needed to be made. When Turkey came with 2 guys, that space for only Jermaine Jones to cover, that was a problem. You heard Taylor Twellman say, look, you're not going to get the time to adjust that if you're playing against Ghana, Portugal, and Germany. They will make you pay.
Turkey a notch below. Can you lace some of their success? They are an accomplished European side. We're in the running for a berth until the final day. They're not a bad offensive team, and they showed that today. They put the pressure on the U.S.
But
defense.
something you saw when you're going back to that space, that this team, Turkey, does not have the dynamic aspect that Germany, that Portugal, and that Ghana have in exploiting that space. I think the U.S. did a good job of recovering, but they gave up too many opportunities with that better pace of Ghana, of Portugal, and Germany. I don't know if you can recover the way the U.S. did today.
USA 2, Turkey 1. The other major story, certainly in soccer, the report from the Times of London that hit last night, reporting that Mohammed bin Hamad, a former executive committee member of FIFA from the nation of Qatar, in advance of the FIFA vote on placing the 2022 World Cup, which ended up in Qatar, made approximately $5 million in bribe payments to a number of officials around the world, including African football officials. This is a situation that has been whispered about, rumored about for a number of months, but the Times saying they have actual access to the emails. This situation has been under investigation by FIFA. It also has been under investigation by international law enforcement agencies. FIFA has no comment. Mohammed bin Hamad, again, the report making $5 million in payments to influence the vote, which was successful in placing the 2022 World Cup in the nation of Qatar. United States with the 2-1 victory over Turkey, 2/3 of the way through the send-off, 7 days away from departure. We'll cap it from Harrison outside New York City in just a moment. The next send-off match will be Saturday against Nigeria in Jacksonville. 90 productive minutes, the late penalty putting Turkey on the board, ruining the clean sheet. 3 of us will be in Rio de Janeiro as we host the game from there. You'll see our beautiful set there for the first time. Yes, baby, we will. As we watch that match in Jacksonville and host it from Rio next weekend, what do you want to see? What needs to be proven or shown?
I think defensively the questions marks are still there, so I'd like to see a U.S. team that is composed in the way that they defend, not necessarily individually, but collectively. There was a lot of emergency defending as a whole and the individuals running down there. I'd like to see them just be much more collected, and that sometimes just comes with time.
Can that happen in a week, though?
I want to see that same theme, and I think it can happen. But then what I want to see is I want to see an ability to have a nice, compact, organized defense, but still create chances out of it. Create chances, get back into a good defensive shape, and be smart.
We're not
and
done.
No injuries.
No injuries. Goes without saying. We've got a lot more coming. Log on to ESPNFC.com or ESPN3. We've got a boot room extra. Your questions from Twitter and social media. And a complete look back. We kick back a little bit with our friends here at Red Bull Arena, and they are many. Once again, happy birthday, Alexi. Coming up next, Toyota NHRA Super Nationals for Alexi Wallace, Casey Keller, Jeremy Schaff, Ian Dark, and Taylor Twellman. I'm Bob Lee. From Harrison, New Jersey, our final score, the USA 2, Turkey 1.